Hello and welcome to August Feature of the Month. Today we're talking about Service Point version 4 and how it can make managing your edge environment much easier. So without hesitation, let's get to it. Service Point v4 is the latest evolution of our Edge product, which will make managing your environment much easier than before. If you remember with Service Point version 3, it was released as a monolithic image that contained both the operating system and the DNS service. SPv4 changes that. We've released a service point, which is the base operating system, and then we layer services on top of that operating system, which make adapting to changing requirements much easier. Additionally, we've included greater tools to help give that insight into the service point to help you determine if things are running correctly, where issues may be, and how to quickly get them resolved. So today I'm going to show you how to deploy a service point and then how to use these new tools to gain greater insight into your edge environment. Standing up Service Point v4 has been streamlined to be much quicker and easier. To do that, let's step through how to create a service point and deploy it. So the first step is to log in to your Edge CI and navigate to the service point's SPv4. We're then going to click New, but before we do that, you'll see here that there's Download Service Point Image. This is where it's much easier to deploy in your environment because you can download the SP image and create a template for future service points. Then once you've created the service point, you can just customize the settings and then deploy, which we will show here. So I'm going to click New. I'm going to give it a name, select the type, and I'm going to give it a host name. Put in my IP address with the CIDR, the gateway. I'm going to skip the IPv6 because I'm not using that. We will put in a standard DNS configuration. I will copy the SSH key, and then I will put in a password. Make sure I get them the same. And then I'm going to click Save and Download. And so what it's going to do is create a JSON file for me that's going to have the information that I need to configure the SP. So what I'm going to do is click Save. I've saved it here. And so here's my JSON file. Now that I have my JSON, I'm going to navigate to the service point, and I'm going to click on Edit Settings. And then we'll click on VM Options, Advanced, and we're going to click Edit Configuration. And in this field, we're going to put a new entry. So I'm going to copy, add a configuration parameter. This one's called guestinfo.metadata. So what I'm going to do is copy the value of metadata, which is here. And I'm going to add another configuration called guestinfo.userdata. And copy the value from here. Add another configuration, and this is where we're going to define the encoding. So we're going to put guest encoding, gzip plus base 64. And then add another configuration for the user encoding. And paste it here. So once that's done, we're going to click OK. We'll then click OK again to save our changes. We can now go ahead and power on our service point and then launch the screen. As you can see, we were successful because the service point has the name that we put in as the host name. So now we can go back to our edge. And as you can see, we're pending connection. And while the system is booting up, you're going to see it's going to be logging things to the screen, mainly the Cloud Init things. And so what you will see is eventually it will switch from pending to connected. And as you can see, we're now connected. So what we've done so far has deployed a service point and got it connected to the CI. It's not currently doing anything because we haven't attached any services, which we're going to do next. So if you remember earlier in the recording, I mentioned how we separated the operating system from the services that are being offered. We are now going to connect a service, in this case, DNS Resolver Service, also known as DRS. We're going to connect it to this service point. Now, the way that this works is I've created a site here called 1-FOTM site. I have also created a namespace that I've connected to that site called 1-FOTM namespace. So now to connect the DNS Resolver services, we're going to click New. We're going to name this DRS. The site is going to be the site here, and the service point is going to be our SP service point. Now it's going to ask us what IPs do we want to use for this service point. If I had used the IPv6, you would see that listed here. As you can see, the local host IPv6 is there, but I'm just going to click the IPv4. And so now its site is disconnected, but it's going to start pushing down that configuration to the service point v4. And as you can see, I've now got a version, which is the DRS version. I've also got a connection state, and I'm healthy. And if I look at the DRS site, and as you can see, the service has now connected to the service point. Another enhancement of Service Point version 4 is that we have enabled SSH by default. So now when I want to SSH to ASP, I just put in its host name or IP address and use the operations account. Now when coming over SSH, it uses that public key that was put into the configuration menu on this in the CI. So when I hit enter, I get logged in right away. I can also come to the console, log in with the operations account and the password that I put in the web UI to also log in. And as you can see, I've logged in here. Now there's a couple benefits that are enabled on the command line for the SPv4. The first off is I can run what's called problems. And what it'll do is it'll run through some tests and see what the status is of these different functions of the service point. And as you can see, my status is good. You can also look at Nomad status, which is another component which CARE may ask you to review. And as you can see, everything is running as expected. Now, another benefit is that we can also run a data rake, which you're used to on the integrity line. This collects all the information that in SPv3 we had to go into different folders to collect. And so this makes it much easier to support edge service points, get in, see where issues may be, determine what the next steps are, and then collect the information should care require that for assistance. Thank you for joining me for August Feature of the Month. I hope you enjoyed learning about Service Point version 4 and how it can help you in your environment. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next month.